Welcome to episode number 2 of the Down in the Dirt podcast, where we are getting dirty talking baseball. I am your host, Carson Lee, and today I'm freaking excited because the first guest on the podcast is going to be my good buddy, Peter Yorgen, Mr. Pete Yorgen. How you doing, bud?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing great. I'm glad we could finally get this knocked out. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Pete. So Pete is from Dayton, Ohio, correct?
Sir.
He is an outfielder and a catcher. He went to the University of Findlay, which is a D2 in the Great Midwest Conference. Everything right so far?
They switched to the Great Midwest after I graduated. We were actually in the Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference.
Oh, so now they're in the Great Midwest.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So Pete was a 4-year starter. He started 31 games his freshman year and then all 45 his senior year. He was a career 356 hitter. With a 20-game hitting streak and 3 career home runs. Then he went on to play in Bakersfield, California with the Bakersfield Train Robbers, where he ended up winning a championship, knocked me out of the playoffs, unfortunately. He has himself some bling, and he finished out the year with the Florida Freedom, where he is re-signed for next year. So, let's get going.
Let's do it.
All right, so to get started, we're here in Florida, living the life.
It's amazing down here.
How's everything been going for you being down here, man?
It's fun, dude. Obviously, being back in Ohio, it was freezing cold when I was up there. So coming down here, it was definitely a blast.
I'm sure you're happy to get out of the snow and be down here in the sun.
Well, when I flew down here,
have the pool behind us.
Yeah, when I flew down here, I was in sweats and a sweatshirt, and as soon as I got off the plane here, everyone looked at me like I was absolutely crazy.
Dude, that's like me. Like going to the gym, I'm still wearing my beanie because it keeps my headphones from getting the sweat from my ears on it. And so I'm still in beanie season from being in Houston. People are just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, hey, this is how I get in the zone. All right, so let's get started. So actually, my first question is also a question from one of our Instagram people, Mr. Spencer Pitts, SD Pitts 02. He asked, how long have you been playing? And that's what I was going to start with, to tell me how you got started playing baseball. You know, I'm sure you have the same story as all of us, but how young you were, kind of how you got started from Little League to select ball to high school. Take us through the journey.
Honestly, I couldn't even tell you the first time I started actually picking up a bat. I mean, I was that young. I think my first word was ball, actually. But anything that involved, a ball, I played growing up. But baseball, I think, I want to say I picked it up around 3 or 4. Everybody same thing. Went through T-ball. Grew up, started playing coach pitch, getting into the select stage, and then after that, got into high school, college, just like everybody else. So, that was a fun time, though.
So did you do travel ball and everything growing up?
Yeah, I think I was 10 or 11 when I started doing travel ball.
Yeah, same with us. Where did y'all just play around Ohio, or would y'all go like out of state too?
No. When I was real young, we stayed around Ohio. I think the farthest out we went was maybe Indiana or Kentucky.
Did y'all do any of the Big World Series, anything like that?
No, we never did anything like that. It was just major tournaments or just around the area and stuff like that. And then once we got into high school and college, then we started going all over the place for that.
So you said you played multiple sports growing up, right? Mm-hmm. Picking up different balls and stuff. So what was your favorite sport outside of baseball?
Oh, that's tough. Because growing up, I played soccer, basketball, played backyard football, stuff like that. I would probably have to say growing up, soccer was my second favorite because for me, that was my football because my parents wouldn't let me play growing up. Even though I ended up playing when I was in like middle school, but I just never had like the act to play after that. So soccer, just because I think that was probably my other physical sport that I was able to do.
So what when you got to high school, what was your baseball experience like in high school from your freshman year throughout your senior year as far as trying out for the team? Like in Texas, we had a pre-high school summer team that we had to try out for, and we played on. And, our coach couldn't coach it, but he would watch come to all the games. So that was our freshman year. And then obviously, that would help us pre-tryout once the tryouts came,
right,
to get onto the team. So did y'all have anything like that freshman year, or what was that kind of process like, making the transition from middle school to high school in going from travel ball to high school ball? Because I feel like a lot of people kind of have trouble making that transition,
Right.
just because travel ball is so relaxed and just let's have fun. To high school, you start getting a little bit more pressure, and kids think, well, if I don't make the team freshman year, I'm done with baseball.
Exactly.
Which is not the truth. You still have 4 years to develop and play, but also find a way on the team.
Right. So for me, where I went to school, we were actually we were a small Division I school.
So what's Division I?
Division I is like the highest level that you can get in the state.
Okay, so that's a pretty big population.
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty big population.
For Texas, I think that would be like 5A.
5A.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I was about to say I don't know. I know I've heard of like 5A, AA stuff like that, but I'm not really familiar with it.
Yeah,
so
that's the same thing.
D1's the highest level that you can get to. So going off of that, we were normally a powerhouse for that level. We always were in contention for a district title or a regional title, stuff like that. So, freshman year, it was pretty mind blowing because, like you said, summer ball, like growing up, summer ball, it's all fun, getting everything, meeting new guys, getting used to the playing, stuff like that. And then once you get to high school, you're thrown into the fire with everybody, because it's all 4 levels. You're playing with guys that are, 17, 18 years old, stuff like that. So, for me, it was fun. Because I had done some camps and stuff that was ran through the high school. So the coaches knew who I was and stuff. And I was actually neighbors with our high school head coach. So he knew about me before I even stepped foot in high school. So when I was a freshman, I actually started out on JV. I got called up as a catcher. And so when I did that, was there for a little bit, and then before they made the final roster decisions and everything before the season started, I got bumped down to freshman because there was guys on varsity that they dropped to JV. So, and they were only allowed to carry a certain number of guys, and I remember the coach calling me in and telling me, he's like, I would love to keep you, but it's because the guys that are in front of you. So, dropped down to freshman ball my first year and did pretty well. Basically went down and got my work in, and funny story is one of my coaches played for your favorite team.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he was a
Red Sox guy?
Yeah, he was a Red Sox guy.
Awesome.
He was a cool guy, dude. He was awesome to pick his brain.
Who was it?
Scott Jones was his name. He was a pitcher.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember what level he got to, but his claim to fame was he struck out David Ortiz in a minor league all-star game.
That must have been back when he was with the Twins. Still coming up,
That's
young
right.
David.
But no, he was awesome. Being a pitcher, but he also knew the hitting aspect. So there was days when we had practice inside, he would throw to us, and like he would give us like a certain situation or like to have an approach in the game. So he would like break off change-ups and curveballs to us like first pitch. And he's like, if it's not a fastball and you swing at it, like get out of the cage.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty tough.
And that's huge at such a young age to be able to have that kind of development, but like so much, it's a farther along development.
Exactly.
Just doing the fundamentals. It's actually, breaking down the game is such a different aspect, which I feel like so many guys that are young don't get the game in that way.
Right.
Everyone talks about fundamentals and doing stuff this way. So the fact you're able to have that, I feel like that only helped further your development as a player.
Absolutely, yeah. So, he knew a lot about the game, so it was cool to have somebody that has been there, experienced it, to be able to pick his brain on stuff like that too. So,
and then going from freshman year, now let's go to your sophomore, junior, senior year. When did you get onto varsity?
So I actually, going into my sophomore year, I started out on JV. So I was actually converted into a shortstop after my freshman year. I had a knee injury my freshman year, which kept me from catching, and trying to find me a spot in the lineup. They were just like, well, can you play short? And it was like, yeah, I have no pain in my knee unless I get down into a catcher's stance. So was able to play short, did really well there. And then, so going into sophomore year, I was a shortstop, was on JV for like the first couple of weeks after tryouts, stuff like that. And I'm in the hallway, my head coach comes up to me and goes, hey, just so you know, you're going to be on varsity today. I got to figure out the middle infield situation. I was like, all right, like cool.
This is mid game.
No, this was during school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so I was at my locker, and he comes up to me in the hallway and just said, "Hey, you're gonna be on varsity for practice today." And I was like, "All right, cool." Called my parents. Was like, "I'm gonna be staying after school today."
I got the call.
Yeah, because I wasn't able to drive just yet, so it was like, "All right, like I'm going."
Hey, y'all can pick me up tonight after dinner. I'm not gonna be home.
Right, exactly. So, funny thing was, I didn't even play middle infield that year. I ended up being a DH, a outfielder, and I caught a few games after that.
Yeah.
So, but I ended up staying on varsity after that. So
just for your junior and senior year.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So you went up as a sophomore and then found a way to stick.
Yep.
And that's what it's about.
Yep.
So once you get up to varsity, how different was that from all the other levels of baseball you had played? Because I knew for me, like that was like all of a sudden the competition level completely changed because now you're
Absolutely.
seeing guys. When you're young, you're playing guys that are pretty much the same age. You get
Right.
to varsity, now you're playing seniors that are 18 or freshmen that are just phenoms, and they're so God gifted that they're so good.
Exactly.
And then like you said, you're doing the varsity practices, which completely changes too,
Right.
because they're a little bit more intense. They usually last longer. You have more focus on you. There's a lot more pressure on you not to make errors during practice. So how was that transition now going to really maturing and developing the game?
It was pretty big, I would say. Going off what you said about everyone's, older, basically at that point, like seniors are grown adults, and you don't think about it, but they are.
1 year out of college.
Yeah, exactly. So, you're facing guys that have full beards, some of them are able to develop that way, but, I think it worked out. It is a big difference just because guys are able to throw a little bit harder, but depending on some of the certain high school programs, who they're able to select and stuff like that. But for us, we always scheduled some of the toughest teams in the state. That's how our coach was. He wanted us to be the best, and he always wanted us to play against the best. So
how many games would y'all play? What was your season like?
My sophomore year, the only way I know off the top of my head was because we missed breaking the school record by one game. We went 27-4.
So like 30.
So about
games.
30 games.
Yeah, that's about what we did down in Texas too, like 35, 40 games, because we would have 10 schools in our district play everyone twice.
Right.
So, I've heard other people though, like different states, and obviously up north they play less games. So I didn't know if it was the same for you guys or
that was always the worst part. Was like schools down south, they're starting like a month earlier just because of the weather, whereas in Ohio, we're starting in like late March, beginning of April, and that's also not the best time of the year either.
Yeah,
we get a lot of rain outs and everything.
It's still fairly cold.
Yeah, it's freezing.
So now let's start moving forward. When did you start looking at colleges? I know from my experience and guys I've played with, making the decision that you want to play baseball in college, that's kind of a decision you have to make. Do I want to go be a student and have a college life, or do I want to be an athlete and pursue baseball? So how did you make that decision? I feel like it's probably very easy for you. I got something stuck in my throat. But I feel like that was probably very easy for you. And then, now once you make that decision, what was the recruiting process like, and when did it start? Did you start junior year reaching out to schools, or senior year? How did that kind of come into play?
It was going into my junior year. I wasn't really very knowledgeable about the recruiting process. Like, you heard about it and stuff, but never really thought too much into it, like how to approach schools and how to contact them and stuff like that. I know it was definitely after my sophomore season when I went to my first showcase. And then after that, it was at that point, that's when schools were allowed to start contacting us.
Exactly.
It was the first day of summer after your sophomore year or something, going into your junior, somewhere like that. But so yeah, it was kind of overwhelming because a lot of times you're getting all these emails from schools, they're basically trying to get a profile on you, trying to know who you are, where you play, stuff like that. And then it wasn't really, I was a late commit. There were some guys that I knew that were juniors committing to schools. And I didn't commit till after Thanksgiving, I want to say, of my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like trying to, for me, it was trying to figure out the best place where I can go academically and, athletically as well. I had a couple schools that had reached out to me and wanted me to come for visits. And in our school, we were only allowed to take so many official visits to miss school and everything. So I think I only took 2. But I had a couple schools looking at me, and, after the second visit, my heart was set on the University of Findlay.
And so when you started that process, were you already committed to go into a 4-year school, or were you considering junior college, or were you just going where best place, best option that is on the table to play baseball? Or even academically?
I was set on a 4-year school at the time. For me, it was we had a thing called PBR, which was a prep baseball report.
Okay, yeah, I think we had that too, something similar.
And for me, I did a couple of the showcases, and they were telling me, like, this guy's a mid D1 recruit. Basically, he just needs to solidify a spot, where at on the field I could play, because, I was a utility guy. And, that put into my head, like, I need to be looking at, like, mid-major D1 schools to be reaching out to and stuff. And, basically, I attended one camp and got told that I wasn't even good enough to play college baseball.
I think a lot of us go through that, and that's awesome to say that the journey has come this far.
Yeah, exactly. Because at this point, where I'm at now, I'm basically playing with house money at this point. But that lit a fire under me. I went through some depression with it, just because at that point it was like, every kid's dreams to play in a big league stadium.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, well, you're not even good enough to play, after high school. I went through a little rough patch with that, and it lit a fire under me a little bit too. It made me start working hard and just trying to prove everybody that thought that I couldn't, wrong. And I didn't get the D1 offers that I wanted to, but at the same time, I feel like I picked the right place to go to.
And I want to emphasize what you just said about someone telling you you're not good enough, and then having that fire lit under your ass to go just improve and prove them wrong. Like that is why I wanted to start this podcast, to share stories with kids that are listening and show them that, like I said, just because you get cut freshman year doesn't mean you can't play college baseball, or you're not going to make the team next year. Or just because you're at a, you might be playing in college, or you're not at a prestige school, that you can't go on to the next level.
Exactly.
And, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do you as the first guest on the podcast, because I know you work your ass off. I see your freaking Instagram stories when you reply back to me, in the off season with, here's what I'm doing, and then I get a video from you in my DMs. Here's what I'm doing, coming right back at you. Like, I love it, and that's what I want to share with kids, the listeners, that doesn't matter where you're at. If you put in the work, you can get to where you want to be. And you're one of those guys that you've done that, and you've reaped the benefits from that hard work.
Absolutely.
So that's something I want to emphasize. If you're listening and you don't listen to any other part of this podcast, listen to this sound bit, because that's what's important. That Pete went from being told he wasn't good enough in high school to now he's going on to his second professional season, and he's getting a promotion to go to a higher level. And that's what it's about. If you believe in it, then it doesn't really matter what everyone else says. So
absolutely. At the end of the day, it's what you put into it. It's your thought process. It's your heart, whether, what you want to do at the end of the day. Just because somebody tells you no, you don't have to listen to them. Obviously for me, like, it's stuck and it still sticks, but I use that as fuel every day when I go to the ballpark. Like, the only thing that I love about being told no was that instilled the work ethic that I have today. And
you don't have everything handed to you.
Exactly.
So it makes you want to go out and get it.
Yep. Having to stand out from the other guys. Like, I can guarantee you, anybody listen to this, if you know who I am and you've seen me play.
I think I know where you're going with this.
If you've seen me get walked, I do not walk to first base.
You don't jog either.
I don't jog either.
This is a full full speed sprint, like I don't know track like meters or anything, but say if there was a 100-meter or whatever, what's going on here? If there was the computer went down, had to reset it. But if there was like a 100-meter or 90 foot, race, Pete would win it every time because he busts as hard as he can to first base after a walk. I knew exactly where you were going with that. I knew it.
I was waiting for you to bring it up.
But that goes back to what we were talking about. It's one of those things that sets you apart because if you go to a showcase as a high school guy to get in front of colleges, or you're in college and you go to a pro showcase, or even if you're just playing a pro game, anywhere you do that at, like that's going to open someone's eyes.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's about. If you don't have a big 6'4" body, you're not chunking 95. You have to do something that's going to set you apart. You can't just go play a game and think that you're going to get noticed.
Exactly.
A scout or a coach is trying to watch 9 other guys. Well, actually, essentially 8 teams. He's trying to watch everyone from both teams.
Right.
So little things like that. I think I told you that this year. One time you walked, you got the second, and I told you, dude, never stop busting at the first base because I love it. It's awesome, dude.
I think I got walked 4 times that game too.
Yeah, I know it was in Baco. And it might have been the July 4th game, honestly, because I think it was the day we were both wearing navy or royal blue jerseys, and we looked exactly alike.
It could have been, but yeah, that was just something that I picked up. It was one of those things. Like growing up, I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't the fastest, I wasn't the strongest. Obviously, it's different now because nobody has seen my upbringing. I've had to put the muscle on. I've had to put the extra hours into the weight room just to get my body to where it is today. But for me to stand out compared to guys that are hitting, balls 100 feet over the fence, like I wasn't able to do it. I didn't hit my first home run until college.
Yep.
And so for me to stick out, like it was my hustle. It was my work ethic. It was one of those things. So.
And those are two things that you can instill in yourself that can't be taken away. You control those things. You can't control anything else that happens on the field, but you can control how hard you play, and you can control the decisions you make off the field to improve your game.
Absolutely.
And like I said, you're reaping the benefits now from those years of sacrifice. But let's go into college now. Essentially, you get to college, you're at a 4-year university. Now you're back to square one like you were in high school, where you're the new guy on campus. You're a freshman. You have a whole team full of older guys once again, and now you're getting into your young 20s. So you're really starting to mature, develop, and become a man. How far is Findlay away from where you live?
It wasn't that bad. It was maybe an hour and 30 minutes.
It wasn't too horrible being away from home.
No, and that was one of the reasons why I picked it too, because it was literally a straight shot up 75 for me. So all I had to do was just hop on the highway, and I would literally run right into the college campus.
I guess that wasn't too much of a big deal for you then. But once you got to campus, what was that adjustment period like? Especially now that you're having that freedom to be on your own. You got to go to class, 8 a.m.s. You got weight room in between. Maybe working out with coach one-on-one. I don't know if y'all did that.
Yeah, we had individual stuff
and
like
then,
that.
And then from practice and now, how was that transition?
Oh, it was a major adjustment for me. I think my first day on campus, it was just trying to interact with other players, or people, I should say, and then finding out who's on the baseball team, stuff like that. And then out of random, you'd meet some guy, and next thing you know, oh, I'm on the baseball team too. It's like, all right, so then you're automatically like sticking with them because you're going to possibly be there for 4 years with that guy.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I mean, we really didn't have much of a weightlifting program in high school. So yeah, waking up at like 6 o'clock to go to weightlifting, that was another adjustment for me. But you had the freedom to basically, you're on your own. Basically it's kind of the same thing as high school, but your parents aren't there.
Yeah.
So it's you taking that next step into becoming an adult.
Yeah, learning how to be responsible and do the things you need to do to take care of class, but also balance the athlete schedule.
Exactly, and that's a huge thing about college that some people don't understand is the time management, especially for baseball, because for some sports they have that season and that's it. Although they do have their preseason, baseball it's year round. Once you step foot on campus, you have like maybe a week or two to
Yeah.
adjust, and then it's like, all right, first day of team practice, and then you got individuals after that.
Yeah.
All the way up till Christmas break when you go home, and then once you get back on campus, it's like, all right, like we got a month till season starts. Like you need to get going, you know. So basically, it's like having a job on top of schoolwork, which some people are able to adjust to it, some people aren't. So,
And I think that's the easiest way to weed people out too. That happens in college. I know it happens a lot in junior college. You really find out the guys that are just there to have fun and party, and sports or baseball, whatever they're doing, is kind of the secondary thing.
right,
Whereas the guys in there that are focused solely on baseball, and like we always said, they were athlete students, not student athletes.
right.
So now I want to rewind a little bit because you said you didn't really have a weightlifting program in high school. When did you start working out? I guess consistently. When did that kind of happen? Were you doing that in high school on your own, or did that happen in college once you got there and started working out with the
I
team?
mean, we did have some stuff in high school, but it wasn't really supervised by anybody that had any kind of credentials or anything. It was our high school coaches that ran it. And not saying that they did a bad job, but some things just
Exactly.
But it wasn't until my freshman year of college, and that was the thing is like once I started hitting the weight room and I started seeing the results, like it hooked on me like that. Like I got addicted to just like living in the weight room. Like I was lifting. There was times where I was lifting twice a day. Like we'd have team lift in the morning, go to classes, practice, and then at the end of the night it was kind of like, I kind of want to go lift again. Try and get some extra gains and stuff.
And that's work ethic right there. That goes back to that point of how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to continue your development and grow? So I think once again that just shows a lot about who you are and why you've gotten as far as you have.
Right.
Because that's a huge key that I feel like guys just really don't understand. They ask, when should I start working out? How often should I work out? Like, get in the gym as much as you can and stuff your face.
Exactly.
You're the key development. One of the big key developments is watching your body change and grow, and especially when you're 16 to 20, when you're really growing through puberty and you're making that transition from high school senior to college freshman. Like, your body can grow so much, and that makes a difference of from senior year to freshman year.
Right.
And so I hope once again that if you're listening, that hearing that from Pete will kind of put that in your mind. That if you're not in the weight room, go get in the weight room and eat and try to gain as much muscle and much weight as possible.
Oh, absolutely. Because the thing is, like, what you see on TV from major leaguers, you see them playing. You see them, all the work that they put into the cage or the work that they've done taking ground balls. Nobody sees the weightlifting aspect.
Yeah.
That's all behind the scenes. That's all, yeah, they do have strength coaches, they have trainers and stuff like that, but that's all on their own. Like, it's up to them to be able to go to the weight room that day before the game or after the game to make sure that they're still keeping the gains that they got from the off season. So,
and I think that's something that people don't realize, because like you said, they only see what's on TV, but major leaguers are working out before the games.
Oh, yeah.
They're there at the stadium 5 hours early, and they're getting their lift in. They're working out in season. Same thing with college guys. I mean, I know y'all did it. We did it. You have a college program where you're lifting during the week with your strength coach,
right.
And then you're not always lifting every day just because of weight room. Teams have to have priority to get in, especially football. That's the worst, because football is able to get in every day because it's their off season. There's still time to be found in the gym on your own.
Oh yeah,
and that's weightlifting is a year-round aspect of baseball. It's a training, and that's crucial, because that one day can really change your development. It's either going to hinder you or it's going to help you grow so much. So I'm glad we're able to touch on that and really, hopefully emphasize that how important that is.
Oh yeah.
So how much could you really tell a difference from your freshman year to your senior year and your from weightlifting? Yeah. I mean, how many pounds did you gain?
So again, I wasn't the biggest kid. I was 5'9", and I think I've stayed 5'9" since then. But I was about 145, 150 pounds soaking wet my senior year of high school. Got on the campus about 150, 155, and by baseball season I was like 165 freshman year. But, I lost all that once we got into the season, just because with the appetite and everything. But by my senior year, I was pushing 190, and that was probably the best fit that I've felt in a while.
Yeah. And I think that was the first thing I told you too when we got out here to Florida. When I saw you, I was like, "Damn, Pete, you're looking thick with a double C, THICC thick."
Yeah. Your eyes pretty much went wide open when you saw me. So
yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, I gained almost 30, maybe 35 pounds between the 4 years that I was at college, and I mean it made a huge difference. Just with seeing how far I could hit a baseball.
Yeah.
And how far and how hard I could hit it. So, I mean, it definitely helped out.
So what year was your first home run?
Junior year of college.
So you really had 20 pounds on you from your freshman year before that ever happened.
Yeah.
So that just shows that weight really carried over and transferred to hitting. So now, once we get into college, once the season starts rolling, like I said, you played in 31 games, I think, your freshman year, and then from there on out, it looked like you were pretty much a consistent starter all the way until your senior year, where you played in every game.
Right.
Were you catching or were you playing outfield? What were you doing?
So I signed as a catcher with the thought in the back of the mind that I could possibly play outfield. But when I signed under a different coach. I signed for head coach Troy Berry and assistant coach Chris Antonides. Well, Coach Berry had MS, and it ended up getting pretty bad that he had to step down as a head coach. So I'm going in blindfolded, into school, not knowing who I'm going to be playing for the next 4 years. And the funny thing about it was I ended up playing for Coach Steve Perrell, and didn't know much about the guy. So I ended up getting a hold of my high school coach and was like, "Hey, just out of curiosity, do you know who this guy is?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, that's the assistant coach that I had in college." So the head coach I played for in high school played for my college coach when he was in college at Bowling Green. So it was just like, this is like a small world. And playing for both guys, for a total of 8 years, I saw so many similarities between the coaching styles.
Where he picked up a lot of his coaching philosophy.
So it was actually pretty cool to see all that. So,
But so where would you play the most though throughout your career?
I was actually an outfielder.
So you were doing.
So
outfield?
I started out in the fall.
I know when I met you, that's what you were doing.
Yeah,
you were doing outfield.
Yep. So I started out in the fall during workouts and everything. I was catching. Freshman year, I think I maybe saw one game behind the plate when we were down in Florida, and then we got back, and they stuck me in the outfield. Just, hey, here's your chance, see what you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting my first college hit that game, and ended up throwing a guy out from left field. And after that, I was like, all right, here's your spot.
Yeah.
So, and same thing for the next 2 years. I started out as catch, with the thought of being a catcher in the fall, and then right before, we got to Florida, it was like, all right, you're going to be out in the outfield. And then finally it was just like, all right, you're just going to be an outfielder.
Yeah.
Like, all right. But senior year, we had a catcher go down, and they're just like, all right, well, now you're an outfielder, but we might need you to catch, the second half of these double headers and stuff. And it was like, I have no problem with that. So yeah, basically I was a majority outfielder with a couple games behind the dish.
And that's something I kind of want to touch on too, because I hear a lot of guys. I mean, I know I thought this way. You go into high school and you have that one-track mind, thinking, okay, I'm only a shortstop, I'm only a third baseman, I'm only a second baseman, and guys get mad when a coach tries to switch their position, and they get stubborn and hard-headed. And I know from my own experience how many different positions I've played here in your experience, how many positions you've played over the last 5 years, and then even we heard it from Pelf one day where he said you're gonna move positions essentially at some point. You have to be open to it, and you have to be willing to learn different positions.
Exactly.
I think that is key. That, like you said, you got the shot in the outfield. Thinking you were a catcher, you get a shot in the outfield, and you have success, and you made yourself stick in the lineup.
Exactly.
And that's key for younger guys to hear that. Just because you're a shortstop doesn't mean you're gonna be a shortstop your whole life. Shortstops get drafted because the scouts see their athleticism to be able to play multiple positions.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, that's key. And I think that's huge that you were able to do that, and now it's once again reaping more benefits from that.
Right, and that's the one thing that I'm so gracious of growing up was playing so many different positions, because getting into that stage, it's like, okay, well, I might not have played it recently, but I still have the knowledge and like the tools to be able to play that position or know how to play that position. So once that day comes where it's like, well, hell, I don't know who to put there, and you can be like, well, I've played there before. And it's like, all right, go out and
you
see
can
what you can
put
do.
a guy out there that you know is going to give you the results you need, but then he can go up to the plate too, and you've got a bat in the lineup that's going to produce.
Exactly.
And that's what's huge.
Right. Right. If I would have just been a straight catcher all 4 years of college, I probably wouldn't have gotten any playing time, just because we had a couple studs that were older and in front of me. Yeah. So.
I mean, I know I saw your car the other day, and you still had your infielder's glove, so that says a lot. You're prepared.
I know. I came down here and was just like, we did in and out the first day, and I felt like I was in high school all over again, because I went up to the guy in charge and was just kind of like, okay, well, what position do you want me at? And he just kind of like looked at me and was like, what position does Pelfont at? And I was like, well, he's going to have me catching. He's like, well, I would just stick with catching. And I was just like, all right. Didn't know if anyone wanted to see me show off the gun from right field or anything like that.
All right, so now in college, what kind of success did you guys have throughout your 4 years? Did y'all go to any conference tournaments, win any conference tournaments, make any regionals, anything like that? What was that like?
We did not. So again, we went into a whole new coaching program, so we were going through the whole building stages. So basically, Coach Perrell had all these guys that he had never recruited. So he's kind of like trying to put pieces together, trying to figure out who he has on his roster now, and trying to fill in the best guys in those 9 positions. So we struggled, I would say. It wasn't until my senior year where we really saw some success. We came down to Florida, and we finished the week 9-1, and that was like the best start that our school had in like 15 or 20 years or something like that. And we ended up being ranked like 4th in the region and like 30th in the country at that time. So that was pretty big. But I also think it got to a lot of guys' heads like, well, hey, like
we made it.
We made it, but it's not over yet. Like, we just started the season. So we ended up after we got home, we split a couple series, and then things just kind of started snowballing, and it just turned downhill again. So, but they made the tournament last year, so I was pretty happy to see that. Finally, yeah, they finally turned it around. So.
And so, how hard was that to play in a program that you got new coaches coming in, and you're really just struggling to put the pieces together? Because I know that that's a lot of what I went through, and it was tough.
Right.
So I mean, from your perspective, how was that? Because I know going through that, it's hard to stay focused mentally, and then even with your own personal development, like you're still wanting to develop and get your work in, but at the same time, now you have to look out for the best interest of the team and really be a team guy, and like we got to get this done to get on the right track and start winning.
Right.
So what was that like? I don't know, how you guys were, but for us, we're losing when we start running. So yeah, the tone of practice changes completely.
It was rough, I would say. Because there's times where once people start to realize how the program's going, like what direction they're going in that season, some guys just up and out. They're just like, yep, see ya, we're done, stuff like that. But we basically had a brotherhood. Like, we struggled in the fall together, all the way up until the season, and everybody had each other's backs. It was just things weren't able to click at the right times when we really needed them. Like, there was days when our offense was doing well, but our pitchers were getting hit on the other side, or our pitchers were saving our tails, but we couldn't produce anything on offense. So, but other than that, I mean, it was tough. But besides that, I don't think I would have gone anywhere else. I was close to home. I was in a good program academically. All my friends were there. I met my girlfriend there, so she was another reason why I wanted to stay. But I could have taken the high road out and been like, see you. But at the end of the day, I signed my letter of intent to play at the University of Findlay, and I was going to see that all the way through. because I owed it to the guys that believed in me. And our coach and my head coach, he had so many contacts as well because he's been in the game for so long. He coached at like Indiana, Bowling Green, Toledo, like all, some mid-major and major D1 schools, and he was even the batting practice pitcher for the Detroit Tigers for a couple of years. So he had so much knowledge of the game, it wasn't even funny. So he was a good guy to play for.
So what did you end up majoring in?
Originally I started out in physical therapy, and I'm not a bad student. I just struggled. I'm gonna be honest with that.
Going back to try to manage class and being an athlete.
Yes, it was basically like my first year that kind of screwed me over because it was going through the transition of, okay, I'm on my own. Now we're going to class. Now we got workouts, we got practice, we got all this and that. By the end of the day, you basically just want to have time to yourself where it's like, oh, well, now I have like 3 to 4 hours of homework that I got to do, or I need to study for an exam that's next week, stuff like that. So, struggled there. And it wasn't until going into my last semester, I had an academic advisor that was pretty much useless. She didn't even know who I was. There was times where I'd set meetings up with her, and she was just like, and you are? And it's like, you're the one that set the time up with me. And she didn't even, not only does she not know my name, she didn't even know I was on the baseball team. So she's trying to, schedule all these classes. She's trying to, schedule, double workload on me. I'm like, no, I can't do that. I got baseball. And she's like, oh, you're on the baseball team. Well, yeah, who else is paying for this? I'm not paying the whole tab here, but jeez. So she's trying to, double load me, all this stuff. She's trying to sign me up for classes during practice time, and I'm like, you can't do that. Hold on a second, So, it wasn't until my final semester where I got rid of her, ended up getting a new guy, and he was just as clueless, and then ended up getting another advisor, and, hey, third time's the charm, because she was like, all right, so I'm going to look at all the credits that you've taken, and we're just going to see what interests you. All right. So it was health resources or human health, something along those lines, and some people are going, what the hell is he talking about? Trust me, I was the same way. I was like, what is that? And basically, all she asked me was, do you feel like working at McDonald's the rest of your life? And I was like, nope. And she was like, all right, easy enough. And she was like, all right, next option, strength and conditioning. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I practically lived in the weight room since I've been here. She's like, well, you'll get a bachelor's in strength and conditioning, and then you'll get an associate's in personal training. And I was like, sold. Sign me up. And I only had to take maybe 2 more additional classes on top of my workload. So was able to do those the semester before baseball season. So basically, I didn't even have to do that much during the season my senior year.
That's nice too.
Yeah,
really lowers the load you have to go through.
Yeah, so ended up getting that, and I mean, I love it, dude. It's unfortunate it took that long to realize that, hey, that's what I'm going to major in. But I'm happy with it.
So throughout your 4 years, what was your best college moment? You'd say looking back. It could be off the field. It could be on the field.
I was just about to ask, are we talking on field or off field?
It could be anything. What the best memory from college was?
Oh, this is hard because there's a lot of them. Oh, man. We'll do 2. We'll do an on-field moment and we'll do an off-field moment.
No worries.
So I'm gonna have to say it because she's gonna get mad at me. 1, just meet my girlfriend, but besides that, was in my dorm my sophomore year. It was basically we called ourselves Zone 6. I don't know how that name came up or whatever, but basically that was our wing of the dorm was Zone 6. Dude, we had so many freaking Nerf gun fights, and we had these bow and arrows that would literally shoot 100 yards and just whistle. I remember I broke a kid's glasses because I turned a corner and just Hunger Gamed it right into his face. So that was pretty fun.
And those kind of things are the little things about college that get underappreciated is the bonds you're going to build with your teammates and the guys you go to battle with every day is the stuff you get to do off the field. When you're living together, whether it's in a dorm, an apartment, a house, whatever, just the camaraderie you build with those guys, especially being at a 4-year university when you're there for 4 years.
Right.
For me, I was at junior college, so I had 2 different sets of guys I was there with. Freshman, sophomore year at junior college, but I also had another set once I went to my university, and it's like I cherish those times with those guys because they were just so much fun, and the kind of relationships you build, like those are guys that you're gonna be friends with for the rest of your life.
Right, absolutely. So there was that, and then I would say my favorite on-field moment. I went yard in my senior day game. We were playing our rival Tiffin, and I remember. It was like a freshman or sophomore pitcher that we were facing, and he started talking trash. We hit a 15-game losing streak. It got to that point. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. And so basically in his mind, he thinks that, we're terrible. Like, we should, whatever. So he's getting hit around a little bit, and I think we scored a run, and he's like, they're not getting another run this game or something like that. So I end up getting up, and there's a guy on first base, and first pitch he throws me is like up and in, just couldn't be any perfect. And our field was like a boneyard. Like, it seemed like anybody else could, like, based on the wind that day, could hit it out. But other than that, nobody hit any home runs out at our field. So the wind's blowing from the right field foul pole to the left field foul pole. And I freaking turned on this thing, and it went about, I one-hopped it into the pond, which is like an extra 100 feet.
Just a freaking
from, yeah. I mean, I'm not one to pimp a home run.
No, you're not.
But this thing, as soon as I took like 2 steps out of the box, I kind of just flipped my bat and started jogging. I was like, that thing is gone. And it didn't hook. It stayed straight, which actually kind of surprised me. I was like, the wind's going that way, and I just turned on this thing like, you would think there's some kind of hook to it. No, it stayed straight. That was a pretty fun moment. Being able to do that in front of my friends and family on senior day. That was pretty exciting.
I'm sure that was pretty awesome having them all there and being able to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
So now you graduate college. That was in 2017.
Yeah,
you graduated
2017.
And so now because you didn't do anything after that, did you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, because I remember. I didn't meet you until the spring league when we were in Houston.
And I was 18.
Yeah, that was March of 18. The spring league in March, getting ready for the season, and Pete gets picked up by the Bakersfield Train Robbers in the Pecos League. I went to California City, so we were in the same division or same side of the league. So we played each other like 30 times this past year.
It seemed like every other day was literally against you guys.
Yeah, we played each other so much. But so, I mean, this is going to be kind of like a funny question. Kind of just, because of the stuff we've been through. But how was pro ball different from, college and from what you expected it to be? On the field, but then also off the field.
Oh my God. Oh man. All right. So when I was in college, the word grind got thrown around, and you think you know what the term actually means. Yes, you got to go to class, you got to do this, you got to do that. I didn't really understand what a true grind was until this past year. So for us, we get out to Bakersfield. I got some funny stories I can tell later about this. But anyway, so get out there. The first day of spring training was like the longest day of baseball I've ever had. I think we were supposed to show up at the field at like maybe 1:30 or 2 or something like that. We didn't get done till like 2:30 that morning.
What?
Yeah. It was a long ass day of baseball.
What?
But it was our first day. It was Kloppy trying to figure out who he has, what who plays what, stuff like that. Oh, it was so long. I remember just going back to my host family's house and trying not to wake them because I'm using the ice machine from the fridge, just trying to ice my knees and my arm because I was that sore. It was just it was rough. But so going from that, basically it went from classwork to weight room to baseball to just baseball. But at the same time, at that level, there's not much resources, I should say. So, we didn't have, a grounds crew. So, basically, me and, 3 or 4 other guys took over that at our field. So, luckily, one of the host moms, they had a thing called a Black Widow, which was basically a small go-kart. So, they lent that to us, and we used it to drag the field. So, if you guys can imagine a 23, 24-year-old man in a go-kart that is meant for, an 11 or 12-year-old driving around the infield with a drag on the back, trying to just level the. Oh my God! It got to a point.
And y'all's dirt would just clump up too. That was the tough part.
That was the other thing is no matter how many times we worked on that field by game time, as soon as somebody stepped on that infield, their shoe was just the bottom of their shoe was just covered in dirt. It was just all right, well, there's track marks all over the place now. Basically, just dug everything up. But it got to a point where we started doing racing each other around the track, timing each other who can go around the entire track at Sandlin Ballpark the fastest. So, I mean, that was pretty fun. But besides that, so we had to work on the field, then we would, have early work, and then we'd have BP, and then obviously you guys would come and hit after us, and then we would have to go get food. And after that, it was, hey, time to show up and strap it up and let's play. And for us, so for those that don't know, Sandlin Ballpark is actually one of the oldest. There's 2 of them. It's one of the oldest professional stadiums in the country, but it's one of 2 stadiums that faces the west.
Yeah, I think the other one's in Massachusetts.
It's something like that.
On the East Coast.
Never heard about it in my entire life. It was so when the schedule came out, it's our games were after 8 o'clock, start time. We were holy crap. And, being from Ohio, that's a 3-hour difference. So when they live stream the games, it's my parents are starting to fall asleep and stuff. So they never really got to see that many games. But we had to wait till 8 o'clock because we had to wait for the sun to go down. So kind of a cool feature, but also very crappy because
at the same time it sucked because you're starting the game in the first inning and the sun is down, but it's not quite
down
and it's still
yet.
glaring through.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I used to hate that. The first inning of hitting at Sandlin was the absolute worst.
Yeah, because there was a couple pieces of board on top of the fence to cover where the crack was underneath the batter's eye and the wall. And one of them fell down, so it just shined right through. And of course,
and on a lefty, it was right where the ball came out.
Yeah, exactly. So it was rough. But for us, depending on how long the game went, if it was a fast game, hey, cool, it's 11 midnight, you're done. Long games, it's not until maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock, and you got to do field work after that. And then after that, it's okay, well, where are we going to eat tonight? And for a couple of us, it was the same spot every single night.
I know. For me, when we played y'all, it was that in and out on the airport exit.
You
every
guys
time.
went all the.
It was right when you leave the ballpark, you take a right on the roundabout, and the next exit's for the airport, and you take a left, and you get on the freeway.
You went all the way out there?
Yeah, for in and out every
Holy
time.
Crap, dude.
Because then that led us right into the freeway to go back to Cal City.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it was kind of on the way, but it's freaking In and Out. I'm a Texas boy. I don't like Whataburger. In and Out is my go-to burger. So I was I'm gonna indulge in this as much as I can.
That was the first time I had In and Out was this past summer too, and it was pretty good.
So what do you think? What's your best fast food go-to burger? Is In and Out up there?
Oh, it's
up there. You were in California for a whole year.
I was. I honestly didn't even eat that much at In and Out while I was out there. I was trying to okay. With the appetite that I eat, I was trying to eat as healthy as I could.
Yeah, exactly.
And
we all
it's
do.
the hardest thing.
Especially with our schedule. It's so tough.
It was
especially a Pecos League schedule.
Oh, yeah. It was all right, Subway or Chick-fil-A's the day. Or gas station hot dogs going to High Desert.
No, in High Desert, I took Justin to this place, and he didn't believe me, but there's this place called Apollo Burger, and Guy Fieri did one of his TV shows
right.
there.
I forgot about that.
And, I told Justin, I was like, dude, this is the best burger you'll ever have in your life. He's like, oh, no, you're messing with me. We get there, and he had one. He's like, dude, you're right. That's the best burger I've ever had. So if you're ever in Adelanto, California, or Victorville, whatever it is, go to Apollo Burger. I'm sponsoring Apollo Burger right now because that place is the bomb.
That says a lot coming from Cortez's too, because he's a man of his food.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I was gonna go somewhere off your pro. Oh, Sam Lynn. What was it like playing there? Because I know for me, I'm such a baseball nerd and historian. Like
Absolutely,
like little things like that are so cool to me. What was it like being able to play at Sam Lynn every day?
I got two things for you.
Knowing who played there, you have Piazza,
Ken Griffey,
Pedro
Martinez. You had Josh Hamilton,
the Seager brothers, or I think maybe just Corey.
Might have been Corey. Yeah, because it was when they were with the Mariners. So at Sam Lynn, they were called the Bakersfield Blaze, and they hosted numerous amount of minor league teams for different affiliates. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody can script that any better for my first year in pro ball to be like, hey, you're going to play at Sam Lynn Ballpark, and just so you know, there have been Hall of Famers that have started their career here. So
and it's kind of I think it Reed does that in your. I can't think of the word, but like Reed just like puts that confidence in you that okay, Mike Piazza played here, a freaking 48th round pick who just 48th round pick who just went to the Hall of Fame 2 years ago. Now I'm on the same field he is. Like I'm even as far away as I am, I'm still close.
Exactly. Like for me, it was I'm in the same box catching that Mike Piazza was in, and there was I'm a righty, so there was times where I would, after the game, step in the left-hand box and be like, I stepped where Ken Griffey was at one point, But it's such a cool thing because I'm the same way. Anything that comes like history with the game or just players like that, like I'm like a little kid. Yeah.
I know, like for me, my first year, we played Tucson, and Tucson would use two fields. I'd use Keno on the weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Monday through Wednesday. They had another place that was like right outside of Tucson, and it's kind of like in the mountains, so it was like an old mining town.
Oh yeah,
and this was like one of the, like I think the second oldest active ballpark or active stadium or something in the country.
Wasn't it like Satchel Paige played there or
Satchel
something like that?
Paige, Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, Sheila's Joe Jackson. Like it was so cool because like how it was built, like it's like just the old brick. The tunnels under the stands. It was insane to think that back in the day when there was miners going from town to town and they'd just pick up a ball game, like they'd play at this field, and it was pretty fascinating just to think that even as tough as the Pecos League is, just like the history that we got to experience.
Absolutely. So like for us, I was a little upset when we played in Tucson for the playoffs that we didn't get to play at Keno because it would have been like this is where Randy Johnson murdered a bird.
Yeah, like, Keno was something else.
But
go ahead.
The other was Alpine when we played there.
Yeah, because that's an old ballpark too.
Old ballpark.
Clobberknot or something like that. Isn't that
Coconut? Coconut is what it was called. But yeah, no, that was a pretty cool place to go play at too because it was like cement wall all over the place. And I forget who played there. I think it was like Whitey Ford played a game there or something like that. But I mean, old timers.
Yeah, like way back early 1900s.
Yeah,
which is just it's mind blowing.
Oh yeah,
it's so cool. And I think that it's just a cool little nugget to have in our careers. Regardless of how far we go, just to say that our journey interlocks with those guys and saying that's part of our experience. That we got to do the same things that happened 120 years ago.
Exactly, absolutely, man. Yeah.
So now, first year pro ball is in the books. College and high school. What would you say was like the first bit of adversity that you ever went through, and how that helped you today, to deal with what we go through now, through pro ball, Pecos League, Frontier, how that adversity has helped you today?
Man, so going back on just basically being told no, I would say has kind of helped me because what people don't understand that what we do, yes, we are professionals, we get paid very little. But
for the love of the game.
Yes, it's for the love of the game, but our job's on the line every single night. When I was out in Bakersfield, there's times where, you're talking to one guy one day and the next day he's gone. You're like, where's he at? Oh, Skip released him. I was like, oh, all right then. didn't do what he needed to do. So our job is on the line every single night. So being told no back then, I feel like, is a very helpful for me because it just makes me more sharp and focused more to do my job. Because at that point, it's like, if I'm being told that I'm not good enough, like, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it's going to help me to do what I need to do to make sure that our team wins or has a chance of winning. Because if I don't do my job, I know, hey, you're going back home.
Yeah.
Like, you have no job.
And I think that's one of the toughest things that we have to deal with, that we go through is, like we said, in this game, you build a bond with all these guys. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword because it's like, you're my bud, you're my friend, but at the same time, you're my enemy. Like, we're fighting each other for jobs, and there's only 24, 25 of them. And, the higher you climb, I think Chad said it best the other day when we were talking to Chad, once you get to AA or AAA in the big leagues, there's only 30 teams. There's only 30 AA teams, 30 AAA teams, and 30 MLB teams with 25 roster spots on each team. So do the math. And if you have guys with more experience, you have top prospects, you have guys with that are getting paid a lot more money, and then guys that are getting sent down. So when you actually do the math, there may be 25 roster spots, but there's actually realistically only like 5 per team.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the toughest thing about what we do is like you said, our job's on the line every night. You have to perform consistently. Mm-hmm. You play every day, and you have to bring it every day. You can't take a day off.
And going on top of that, like, you can't bring outside things in your life into what we call our workplace. Yep. Because once you have something that's set in your mind, like a negative, thought or anything like that, that's in your personal life, you bring it to the field, that's just going to affect the way you play.
And I think, piggybacking off that, that's one of the most annoying things I've dealt with. I saw it when I was younger before, I started playing pro ball, but that I've dealt with now is that, people say, well, your job's only 5 months or whatever. No, your job is year round because the off season matters.
Absolutely.
And if you bring that kind of stuff into your off season program, you're still going to slack in, and that's going to catch up to you months down the road. Right. So, piggybacking off that, like, it's truly a full time gig year round because what you eat, how you sleep, who you hang around with, all is a key part in your performance on the field when it matters.
Absolutely. Like, for us, we played, what was it, like 72 games in just as many days, if not less, something like that. If you do the math, there's no off day. I mean, it's taxing on your body. And then for me, because after I finished up in Alpine, winning the championship, I drove.
Well, let's touch on that real quick. What was that like? Your first professional season, you're winning a championship.
It was awesome, dude. I didn't get to play until the third game. So we won the first game. It was like 18-12. It was just a slugfest. It was awesome. Second game, we ended up losing, and it was just like, all right, we're going to the final game of the series, And there was
this is the last game of the season.
Last game of the season, and for me, it's like, I don't want this to be like my first chance at winning a professional championship, and knowing that I'm that close. So we're 1-1 going into the final day. They had like 600-700 fans there that every night. Like, it was packed. It was such a cool atmosphere. We're doing. There was a lady at the hotel that we stayed at that did our laundry, and so we're dropping our laundry off after that night. Obviously, mine wasn't really that dirty. And Kloppy walked in right after me, and so I'm getting ready to walk out of the room. He drops his stuff off. Thank you. He says thank you to the lady, and then as he's walking out, he's like, Pete, you're catching tomorrow. Doesn't say a word after that, and I'm just like, huh? Like, what? Hang on a second. What's going on here? So, find out that I'm going to start in what could be like the biggest game
of your life
of
so
my
far.
life so far. Yeah. So I get back to my room, and I ended up rooming with Michael Elwell and Chuck Rocker.
Chuck Rocker.
Both great guys. Well, Mike was the one that asked for me, apparently. I guess, our skipper asked, like, who do you want to catch? And he said, I want Pete catching me. Because me and him worked so well together all year long.
That's a huge compliment.
And so basically, like, going up to that day, I'm just like thinking, like, okay, like how are we going to attack these hitters and stuff like that. Just trying to rewind everything that I've seen so far the last 2 days. So, and for that, it was such a cool feeling just knowing like this could be my biggest, moment to shine, and going into that game, like just taking everything serious. I kind of just stayed within myself. Like I really didn't like want to talk to anybody, but for me, it was just I knew what I had to do. It's like, okay, it's my job basically to try and help us win this championship.
You gotta do everything it takes.
So I was trying to stay relaxed. I was trying to just kind of keep to myself, everything like that.
And that's tough.
And it really is, because you're I hate to say it, you're not trying to be an asshole, but that's just how you have to handle yourself. So, doing my thing. We're taking BP, and I'm, hitting shots all over the place. Not home runs, just hitting hard line drives. I was trying to stay within myself. I walk out of the cage, and Bobby Webb says, I have a feeling that Pete's going to lose a ball tonight. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, the wind blows out the right center here. Like, there's no way I'm going to hit a ball deep. And for those that don't know, Alpine, I mean, that's a pretty deep ballpark. Like, to the power alleys, it was like 360, 370, something like that. So, going into my second at bat. Well, actually, let me lead this off. So, Mark Trailer, you know who Mark is.
Yes.
He has a long backswing. And he'd been nicking me all night, and it was just absolutely frustrating. So we jam him, and he hits an infield pop-up. Well, I take my mask off to look for the ball. Well, his backswing caught the top of my head and just dropped me back. And I just laid on the ground. I was like, oh, God. Didn't black out nothing. I was just, like, trying to, like, collect myself. Like, okay, like, I just got hit, all this and that. As soon as I sit up, there's, like, the whole team's around me, and their trainer starts walking out. It's like trying to figure out, like, if I blacked out, if I'm cussed, what. Like, no, I'm fine. So, go back. I'm second or third up that next inning. First pitch I see, I hit it over the right center field wall. Right. First pitch. As soon as I get back to home, of course, everyone starts tapping me on the head. Not like I just got knocked out or anything. And, all the guys are like, well, you need to be hitting the head more often. I was like, no, I don't. Like, that's the last thing I want right now. But, I mean, off the bat, it was one of those, like, for me, I knew it had a chance, but I wasn't really sure, so I just dropped the bat and started running. As soon as I got back, everyone's like, oh, we knew it was going off the bat. And apparently it cleared right center by...
I'm sure that's a great feeling just
it was awesome.
Be dialed in, especially in a championship game.
For that, because, they had so many fans there, and they were, like, on top of you. You heard everything.
Yeah. I've seen the stadium. That stand was right on top of the field.
Any time that they had any kind of momentum going into it, they got loud. I mean, super loud. And they knew they had any kind of thought that they were going to win this thing. Mm-hmm. As soon as it cleared the fence, it went quiet. And it was literally one of the greatest feelings that I've ever had, is just hearing 600 to 700 people just go quiet like that. All because, of something that I just did.
You went deep.
So, and that was a huge turning point for us in the game. We ended up taking off after that, and then they started to make a comeback towards the end, but we shut that down, and that was one of the best feelings ever, was seeing that final out be recorded. Just, we didn't dogpile, but we all just got together.
Y'all had champagne. Y'all were ready to go.
That was fun. That was so much
fun. I was happy for you just because, obviously with you, Chuck, who I played with in Monterey, and Lubeck, all three of you guys, and then, Chalupa and Zach, going up to Canada with them, just, like I said, you create bonds with people in this game, some more than others. So, even though we didn't get there, I was still happy for you guys that y'all got to experience that, because, y'all are my boys, so, if anyone was going to win, I wanted you guys to be able to do that.
It was a fun thing to do. It was something that I'm going to be able to remember the rest of my life. And,
you got a piece of jewelry, too.
A piece of jewelry off top of that. And on top of that, I'm going to have some guys in Florence with me this upcoming year that are from Alpine.
Yeah.
So, and I've already got to hear about it a couple times. Well, where's your ring at? And it's just like, well, I'll show you when we get there.
Yep. So that's a great feeling, too, to be on that end of that, being able to say, here's my ring. sorry for
about
taking
it.
you down.
But it was such a good series all in all. I mean, that was probably one of the best. Those 3 games were probably some of the best that I've ever been a part of. Just
there's nothing like winning, especially in that environment.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go a little bit forward now and get a little start getting into some fun stuff. I guess it's kind of fun. I guess it's different. You have any superstitions, or what's your pregame routine like? How do you get ready? Do you like to have fun, or do you like to take it serious? Music? What do we got?
I'm a little bit of both. Kind of weird. There's times where I am very serious, and I think it just depends on that day or like what's to come, like who we're playing, stuff like that. But there's also days where I'm just trying to stay loose and just have fun with it because for us, we're privileged enough to be playing this game at our age. 24, 25 years old, and we're playing a game that's meant for kids. Like, there's no better feeling than that to keep playing. So, I'm trying to stay loose, trying to have some fun with it, trying to keep everybody, trying to crack some jokes, even if they're not the best jokes. But, just trying to keep everybody, lighthearted and stuff like that. Keep the locker room nice and having fun. So,
do you get dressed a certain way, or you just put clothes on?
Actually, I do get dressed a certain way now that you mention it.
I do, so that's why I was just wondering, if I'm the weird one of the bunch, or if other guys do the same thing.
Nah, dude, I gotta put my sliders on, then I put my jock strap, then I got my socks, left foot and right foot. I got my undershirt, and then my jersey, if whichever I have, and then got the pants.
Yep. Yeah. All right, so now season ends. This is your first off season, I guess, which I remember mine going from you play your whole life, you play year-round, fall, spring, summer. You get to college and, fall, spring, summer again, because in the fall you truly never stop.
Right.
What was your off-season like? Because I know it's a kind of a culture shock when you get home and there's no school to go to and no inter-squads or anything like that. Now you have all this time to yourself. So what was your off-season like, and how soon before you started training again and getting ready for the next year?
I tell you what, this off season was the worst thing I've ever experienced. So going from literally playing every single day, and it's like, all right, you're done. You get to take a little bit of a break. And it's like, okay, well, what do I do now?
Yeah,
like
you go crazy without baseball.
Yeah, exactly. You start chomping at the bit. So for me, I actually there was a chance for me to go play in Australia. And it wasn't my decision. It was the team that I could have gone and played for. They ended up not going along with it. So and I was okay with that because at that point it was like I had just played this many games, the most I've ever played in one season. My body was just tired, and so I was okay with it. But like a month later, I was just like, I'm ready to play again. Like I wish I would have gone to Australia to play, But I think it was like I gave it a week. I don't even think I gave it a week. Maybe 5 days just to let my body heal, and it was like, all right, time to get back into the weight room. Yep. I don't think I really picked up started throwing a baseball till like after Christmas, if not beginning of January, something like that. Because I knew I had thrown a lot, and this was like
especially being a catcher.
Yeah, and that was the one thing that I wanted to make sure of before this season was giving my arm the right amount of time off, because I've never really had a true break for it. Because obviously being a catcher and throwing a lot and stuff like that. But I'd been working on my swings, shortly after I started weightlifting and stuff like that. So, I mean, really didn't have that much time off. So, and just worked all the way up into it. And, now we're here. We're a month away from spring training. So,
it's exciting.
I leave here Saturday, and I'm going to have another month to really focus on what I need to do before we get into spring training, and I'm going to be chomping at the bit again.
So what was there anything specific you were working on, in your off season, or that you're focusing on trying to get better? Wait, let me rephrase that, because you're always trying to get better,
right?
But was there just like one specific thing where you're like, I just gotta really focus on this, especially like in the gym, an area that needs to get stronger, that maybe was breaking down during the season, or even were you just trying to refine everything?
It was a little bit of everything. I was trying to refine everything, but mostly in the weight room, I was focusing more on my legs. Just because being a catcher and being in a crouch all the time, that wears and tears on your.
And I know every time you sent me a video, that's what you were doing. It was leg day, and I loved it because it made me, I'm working out now. I get it, of course I'm putting it on Instagram and everything, and now I'm getting a video from you, and you're hitting legs, and it's like, okay, let's go. So I loved it, being able to see that.
Leg day was about 6 out of the 7 days a week.
Oh,
it seemed
yes.
like. Nah, not that much. I had to work on some upper body as well. But so worked there, and then I was just trying to fine tune my swing. So I, in my senior year of college, I had the mentality that I was basically like the best hitter on the planet, and
that's what you need though.
Yeah,
that's huge.
And I had. In my mind, I had a swing that was perfect for me. And then once my college career ended, it was like I couldn't find my swing again. So I've been trying to just fine-tune everything, just trying to get the same similar feels that I had then because I had so much success that season. But knowing that, not everything is going to be the same because you have to make adjustments in this game. So your swing's not always going to be the same, but just trying to find something similar to it and then just go off of that.
Yeah. And I think, that's something else we can emphasize for the kids, people who are listening, parents, to tell your kids is that the swing is not always going to feel great. Like, there's going to be days where you have a horrible round at BP and you go out and go 4 for 4, and there's going to be days where you feel great and, you hit 10 out of 10 bombs during BP, but you go 0 for 4 4Ks.
Right.
And you can't touch anything. So the swing's an ever-changing thing where it's constantly it feels different, feels good, feels bad, and is evolving. You just got to fine-tune it to get to where it's just efficient and consistent as possible.
Right.
So, if you're listening and your swing doesn't feel good, tomorrow you're going to feel different. And the next day you're going to feel different, from the day before.
Yeah. But, it all paid off this off-season because I ended up doing hit tracks for, the first time, and one of the balls I hit was, 101, which,
What field were you at?
Fenway.
Fenway. Over the monster?
No, close, though. It was close. But, no, it felt good off the bat, and next thing you know, I look up at the computer monitor, and it was 101. I was like, there's no way.
It's such a good feeling.
Oh, it was
such
awesome.
a good feeling.
It was so awesome. But yeah, I worked on the legs, the hitting, and then for me, it was actually speed work. I was just trying to get lighter on my feet for when I have to throw down, as a catcher, and then also for running the bases, too. So...
Now let's move on to some of our listener questions.
Oh, here we go.
We did my Instagram poll. What people wanted me to ask you. So we're gonna go with the first one from Midnight Moose, our boy Moose.
All right, what's up, Moose?
How do you stay focused mentally?
Ooh, that's a good one. So during a game, a lot of people look at the catcher as the field general. So basically, I have the best view out of anybody on that field. So I have to think 2 steps ahead of everybody. One, I got to think, how are we going to pitch this guy? If I'm calling a game or anything like that, because there's going to be scouting reports on that and everything. So we got to stick to that plan. So we got to do that. And then I also, wherever a ball's hit, I got to know where we have to line guys up or where the ball needs to go and stuff like that. So basically for me, my mentality is, I have 8 other guys on that field that, I have to take charge of as well. So mentally it's it's my job to do the best that I can there, and it's my job to do what I can at the plate too. So I already have a lot of things on my mind. So at that point it's basically, hey, we need to win this game.
Yeah.
We got to stick to whatever plan that we had before that day and go for it. So mentality is a huge thing. And at that point, it's just, hey, just stay relaxed, stay focused, and let's do what needs to be done.
All right, let's go to question number 2. This is from the Dog's House 19. Favorite perk of playing baseball?
Favorite perk of playing baseball? It's going to be corny,
Corny sometimes is the way to go.
But I think the best perk that I've had is all the guys that like I have met. Like obviously, if it wasn't for going to the spring league last year, I wouldn't have met you. You know, or made any other kind of connections with guys. Because that's the thing. Like, you know, in college, like those are people that you're going to know the rest of your life. But here in pro ball, we're all in the same position. Like, there's so many guys that are either trying to get their foot in the door of pro ball or they're trying to, you know, get back into playing for an affiliate team or stuff like that. Like, at the end of the day, we all have the same dream, so we all have that same connection, whether we like each other or not. You know, and so I think the biggest perk is just the amount of friendships that I've made over just this past year. So.
All right, our third and final question. You can only imagine who this is from. This is from Mr. Cortezes himself.
The Red Rocket.
No, watch yourself. Redneck Rocket. He's going to get mad at you. Would you rather fight one bear-sized chicken or 10 bears the size of a chicken?
One bear-sized chicken or 10 chicken-sized bears? Jesus. Is the bear-sized chicken grilled or crispy?
I think it could be whatever you want.
Jesus, as long as it's not live.
No, Mr. Cortezes, I think it's crispy.
Well, I don't feel like getting pecked by that. 10 chickens. I could probably, well, yeah. Let's go with 10 sized chicken bears. That's what it is. Let's go with that.
Chick bear.
Chick bear, yeah. Because basically they're just going to be down at the ankles anyway. Punt them like a football.
There you go. Get rid of them quick. All right, we're going to do a quick rapid fire round just to let everyone know you a little bit better, and then we're going to sign off and we're going to be done.
Sounds good.
So I have like 8 questions here for you. Favorite MLB team?
Cincinnati Reds.
Favorite cleats? Brand?
Oh.
Brand or style?
Dude, that's so hard because I've switched between like 3 of them. Let's go with Under Armour.
Any specific model?
I like the Harpers. Those are actually pretty comfy.
I've heard good reviews about those.
Yeah.
Favorite bat? Same thing, brand and model or model.
Jeez. Well, let's see. I swung a Beaver bat this past year. So they're out of Long Island, New York. Beaver Bat Company, and it's the Andrew McCutcheon model.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
I had that in the Max
But mine, I tape the crap out of the bottom hand.
So
Like
you're a taper, not a pine tar guy.
Oh, I'm both.
You do both?
I lizard skin, pine tar, and then I have like the flex tape.
Mm-hmm.
I flex tape the bottom, like towards the knob
Just
for my bottom hand. All
flared.
yeah, huge flare.
Huge flare guy.
Huge flare guy, man.
We had to get one of those in. Seeds or gum?
Gum.
High pants or low pants?
Ooh. I could be a knicker kind of guy.
What's your single favorite uniform in the MLB? So, like, out of all 30 teams, could be the road, home, alternate, throwback. What's your like favorite one?
Okay. So I got throwback. Definitely throwback. And I'm hoping that the Reds do it this year. But it's back from the 90s, like late 90s.
Ooh, I think I know where you're going.
So it's the red pinstripe. It's back when Griffey was playing. So like late 90s, early 2000s.
Are these the best?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
The red pinstripe vest with the black undershirt and the black hat with the red bill.
Those were back from what was the stadium name?
Synergy.
Yeah, Synergy Field. Yeah, one of the cookie cutter ballparks. Them, Pittsburgh, and Philadelphia.
Yep.
Okay, so you get your MLB call up, get your contract. What's your first big purchase you make?
Oh, I was thinking something else. First big purchase.
What were you thinking?
Who's the first person I was going to call?
Well, we could do that too.
All right. Well, there's a lot of people. First
big purchase.
big purchase. That's a good one. Because I could use a car, but I could also use a house. Who am I playing for?
You can play for whoever,
Play
whoever
for
you want.
anybody?
Yeah.
Ooh.
This is dream scenario here. This is ideal.
Oh, let's go with the car. Go with the car.
Kind of car. Come on,
Truck.
I mean, you're just made it to the show. You're making 6-7 figures. What you got? You could blow as much money on this as you want.
Much money as I
So
want.
what kind of truck? Let's hear the details.
Ooh, well, nothing too fancy. I'd go with the F-150, but the blue.
Okay.
The blue that the Ford makes.
Like the darker blue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are sweet.
Yeah,
Those
I
are
would go
sweet.
with that.
Okay, so who would be the first phone call? Going back to what your original thought was.
I would probably have to say my parents.
Both of them together?
Both of them together. Yeah, I'd call one of them and be like, hey, got the other one on the line too.
I feel like that's one of the moments you, at our stage, like just replaying in your head,
Oh my
just to visualize it and just to feel what it would feel like to get there.
I mean, yeah. I mean, being able to call them and be like, hey, like, I finally made it. I mean, it was kind of nerve-wracking when they came out and saw me play last year. Because, yeah, we're at the lowest level of indie ball, but, I'm at pro status now.
Exactly.
And
You're getting paid to play again.
Yeah, being
officially.
able to see my dad. I mean, he literally came onto the field when he wasn't supposed to. Like, was going crazy and just gave me the biggest hug in the world. Obviously, because he hasn't seen me in a while, but he also knew that I'm doing what I love and I'm at that status now. So yeah, definitely those two would be the people that I would call first.
All right, so now you get the last question. Sit down in history with one player. It could be anyone alive or dead. Sit down in history with one player. Talk with them. Pick their brain. Go hit. Go throw. Do whatever you want. Who is it going to be?
You should know this already, and I had a feeling you were going to ask this question.
Griffey?
No. He would be good. Pete Rose.
Oh, I like that one.
Pete Rose.
It's a shame he's not in the Hall of Fame.
We're getting him there.
He's going to be
We will
there
get
one
him there
day.
somehow, some way. He will get there.
All right, so before we sign off, I would like you to, through all of your experiences, for the purpose of this podcast, to be informative, give direction, and really help people that are listening, further along their baseball career, to tell everyone that's listening what your advice to them would be. It could be anything you want, just words of wisdom, just something to help them further their career.
Just go out and just have fun, because there's no better feeling than knowing that you're going out playing with 8 of your best friends. For some people, this game isn't going to last long, which I hate to say, because obviously for us, we're playing at this level, but we know someday it's going to end for us, and that's a day that I really don't hope happens soon. But one of these days you're going to be told that you can't play no more, whether it's an injury or it's your own idea. Just go out, have fun, play to the best that you can, and just take everything lighthearted, and that just goes along with just having fun, because that's the best kind of approach that you can have in this game, because it's a kid's game. So,
yep. Well, thanks for coming on with me, dude.
Dude.
First podcast, man.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yes, it was a blast. Where can everyone find you on social media if they want to get to you? Connect with you?
I gotta look it up, to be honest with you. I got Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
So plug yourself right here.
Yeah, let's go. I gotta look it up. I gotta make sure I have it so people don't follow the wrong person. So it's P_Yorgi14, and Yorgi is Yorgey.
And same thing for Twitter.
Same thing. I believe it's same thing. It might be a capital P.
I will link those in the show notes. If you want to go follow Pete, or just go to my personal Instagram, I will put it on the show post. And if you want to do some creeping, we also have some pictures together where he's also tagged in. So if you can't find him, he's on there somewhere. Just do a little bit of homework. But yeah, man, that's it. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in, listening, and I appreciate you getting dirty with me and Pete Yorgen. Till next time, guys.